look at this. This is one of the best foods to come out of Taiwan, a Taiwanese breakfast food known as Fantuan. And it's basically just a rice ball stuffed with the most incredible ingredients. You got salty, sweet, savory, absolutely delicious, all compacted into this very beautiful rice ball. I also adapted this recipe based on this one Taiwanese nightstand that I visited that had the absolute best Fantuan. So you know this is about to be some absolutely amazing stuff, okay? And I'm about to teach it to you guys right now, all from scratch. Let's get started. Okay, so we're getting started with the rice, the most important part about this dish, and we're using sweet rice. You see there? Sweet rice. Sweet rice is really the only rice we can use here. It's a short grain rice, very opaque, and just delicious. We're gonna throw in a couple of cups of this and give it a nice shower a couple of times, rinsing and draining and rinsing and draining. We want this pretty clean. Now the most important part, which is water. For every 3 cups of rice, we're using a little more than 2 cups of water, like 2.1 or 2.2 inside the rice cooker, and you don't want to exceed this amount. And that's just the quickest way to mess this recipe up. We don't want to do that, so just listen to my ratios. And when the rice is done cooking, you should see that it's firm, pliable, very slight sticky, but nothing over that. Should feel much drier than regular plain rice. And when you look closely at it, you should kind of be able to see every individual grain, just like you see here. That's perfect. Good job. Now, if your rice looks like this and feels like this, mushy, sticky, guess what? You added too much water. What did I tell you? Bad, bad, bad. Moving on to the ingredients prep, we got a bunch of things we can stuff inside of here. Lots of potential ingredients. We're going to prep it all. First things first, we got some fried dough sticks. This is also known as Youtiao in Chinese. Very crispy and fragrant stuff. You can buy this pre-made at a store just like I have here. Then we're just gonna bake this real quickly on a medium heat until it gets nice and crispy. Moving on to one of my favorite Asian toppings of all times, preserved sour mustard. This is gonna take slight prep work. First, we're gonna dice it by cutting into layers, just like you see here. Stacking them back on top of each other, cutting strips. Nice thin strips. And now turn that 90 degrees and just dice away. Dice, 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 dice. Should look something like this. Let's take this to the stove. High heat, throw in some vegetable and sesame oil. Drop it in. Stir away and just continue to stir and pan fry these on a medium-high heat for 6 to 7 minutes. You'll see it start to brown and shrink. A very slight char, and make sure you don't burn this, okay? And now we're going to add a tiny bit of water just to desaturate the sour flavor just a little bit. Depending on how sour your sour mustard is, I only do this sometimes. I tasted this one and it was pretty sour. So the water also does help tenderize it, so I always suggest you add at least a little bit. Once that's done, we're going to add in a pretty decent pinch of sugar, and this is just used to treat the flavor. Mix that up nice together, making sure that it's evenly distributed, and finish the last few seconds of cooking. Then we're good to go. And by the way, because these are all toppings, the measurements aren't really exact, since it really depends on how much you put in each rice ball, so just keep that in mind. And now to go through the rest of the toppings, here we got some shredded pork. This stuff is amazing. It also translates to pork floss. Such a weird name. Such a weird name. I'm not a fan of that. It is what it is. And this is preserved radish, which is bought pre-made. A classic ingredient for this dish, but I love the sour mustard so much more. And here I got some scallions that I diced up. Not the most critical ingredient, unlike that Bao Bei Chili Oil. You already know I use this for everything. If you haven't made this already, if you haven't watched the video, what are you doing? And now, the final ingredient, some hard fried over easy eggs. And these are going to truly complete our ultimate breakfast rice ball. And the key here is that we want to be frying this on a high heat. We want it nice, crispy, beautiful. Leave that on there for a solid 3 minutes of fry time. Then carefully flippity flip. And that color, that's exactly what we want to see. You already know this texture is about to be splendid. And bam, the final ingredient to complete this hexagon of beauty and toppings. I mean, just look at them. And now just imagine them combined into a magnificent rice ball. And now let's get this done. What you're gonna need here is a wet towel wrapped in saran wrap, plastic wrap, whatever you want to call it, and make sure that it's tight too. Very important. Get your hands a little wetty, and then it's time for the rice. We're gonna start off by doing a very simple one. Doesn't require much rice. Make sure you push it down well. Then layer on those toppings. We got some preserved radish, shredded pork, and our fried dough stick. Now, take your towel from the bottom, rolling upwards, trying to tuck the rice into the other side, just like you see here, then pulling everything together real tightly. And then we're going to take the towel upwards and work on the sides, squeezing upwards into an oval shape. And you can always open it up to see how you're doing. We got a little gap here, quick fix. So really just using your hands in the towel, compress everything into an even oval shape, just like this. And that's a basic Fantuan. Now for the Bao Bei version of it. So same thing except lots more rice here. You can see how much rice I'm using. Then same exact way, layer all the toppings, and we actually have the space now to use every topping we want. Here comes that signature sour mustard, my favorite. Good drizzle of that Bao Bei Chili Oil for heat and flavor. A little bit of scallions for fragrance. Put the dough steak on, and then finally the egg straight on top. Now, same principles. I know it's going to be a lot harder now, but just try your best to tuck everything in. And then the towel goes upwards, squeezing these sides into an oval shape as usual. As long as you make your rice well, this is pretty easy because you can just fix any mistakes with small adjustments. You see, with a big boy like this, you're almost always going to have a big gap on top. Here's where our second scoop of rice comes in. And then just repeat the steps, rolling and tucking, making sure everything is nice and tight, secure, comfortable, and bundled up like the baby that it is. And now the reveal. That's a big boy, that's a beauty, that's a Bao Bei Fantuan. Yes. Now, let's see what's inside, shall we? So since the rice is still a little sticky, you're always going to want to serve these in some plastic wrap or a plastic bag. I'm wrapping this up pretty tightly just to make it much easier to cut. And I'll just let you enjoy the rest in peace. This is some good stuff. Are you ready? Let's try it out. Yes. Our first thing we gotta go through, the textures, okay? The crispiness from the fried dough, the crunchiness from the sour mustard and also pickled radish, the very delicate egg inside, and then also the rice on the outside. It's hard enough where it's not that sticky, but it still feels very chewy, like a very pleasant chew. Kind of gives you that QQ texture, which is a Chinese term for somewhere in between chewy, but not quite mushy. And that's exactly what this entails, okay? Compacted so beautifully, all the flavors kind of are just like a perfect little rice burrito. Can't really see from the light here, but these ingredients all stuck together in this little beautiful burrito, rice ball. This is definitely a food that should put Taiwan on the map. And I know Taiwan's got a lot of great foods already, but I'm telling you, their breakfast food, severely underrated. Severely underrated, okay? Why are you so far away from the camera, bro? Just so portable, you know? Bao Bei Fantuan, aka the king of Taiwanese breakfast, soon coming to a kitchen near you. As long as you make this recipe. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Also, peace out.